So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I am currently in Bali and this morning feeling really called to share a morning practice with you. So, it's just going to be a really quick, probably around 20-minute morning flow. This will be a slow flow, so we'll just take it easy, do what you can, and we'll start off with a short meditation and some breath work. So, just closing down your eyes. Just placing your hands, palms facing up on your legs. And if sitting cross-legged doesn't feel comfortable for you, feel free to just find a comfortable position, whether that's kneeling, putting your legs out in front of you, perhaps lying down, just finding what works best for you. And we're just going to take a few moments to really drop into our practice. So I just want you to turn your attention, turn your focus inward. And what I mean by that is, instead of focusing on what's going on around you, perhaps what's happened in your day so far, just bringing all of that focus to your breath and to the sensations in your body. And sometimes at the start of our yoga practice, our minds can feel quite busy, quite full. So a really good way to help focus the mind is to start to count your breath. And in fact, we'll do that all together. So we'll inhale for a count of 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Go for one more round. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Now just allowing your breath to go back to its normal rhythm. And then just starting to really feel the belly rise and fall as you breathe in and out through the nose. And just remembering that our breath is the most important part of our yoga practice. Knowing that even if you were to just sit here for 5 minutes and breathe, there's so many benefits. Now just bringing your left hand to your belly and then placing your right hand on your heart, sitting up tall. Once again, just feeling the belly expand as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, just sigh that breath all the way out through the mouth. Do that once more. Inhale. And then open your mouth. Sigh the breath out. Allow the shoulders to soften. And now placing your left hand on top of the right hand. Just beginning to think of one thing today that you're grateful for. And for me, that's having this inspiration to share my practice with you today. Now just gently bowing the head, you can blink open your eyes and we'll just take our hands to our knees and we're just going to start off by making some circles with our body. Perhaps inhaling as you come forward and then exhaling as you come back, maybe starting to curve the spine, opening the heart space as you come forward and then rounding the spine as you come back. So we're beginning to awaken our hips. This feels really good for me in the morning, so hopefully it feels good for you too. And then we'll switch it around, so go in the opposite way. So I'm going quite slow, but if you want to speed it up a little bit, feel free to move a little bit quicker, maybe even dipping the shoulders in. Moving intuitively and just finding what works for you. If somewhere feels a little bit tight, maybe you want to work into that place a little bit more. I always like to remind my students that this is your yoga practice. So it's all about finding what works best for you, for your body. Not so much about what it looks like, but more about what it feels like. Come back to center. We're just going to lift our arms, breathe in, gaze up, reach up. This might be your first stretch of the morning. It's definitely mine and it feels really good. And then exhale, take the left hand down, reach that right hand up and over, stretching over to the left side, opening up that right side of the body and just see if you can open that chest up towards the ceiling, maybe even gaze up towards the fingertips or even coming down onto the forearm. Inhale, come back to center, reach all the way up. And then exhale, we're going over to the right side, reaching that left hand up and over. And again, there's the option to come down onto your forearm, gazing up towards the fingertips. If that doesn't feel comfortable in the neck, you can just gaze forward. There's no right or wrong. Inhale, come back to center. And then exhale, we're going to clasp our hands behind our back. Lift the chest, open that heart space, shooting that heart forward, dropping the head back, and just imagining that there's some confetti shooting forward out of your heart center. All of that gratitude pouring out. And then we'll release, open those arms, gather all of that back together. Palms meet and the hands come back down to the heart center. Gently bow the head. And we're just going to place our hands down, roll over the knees and come into our tabletop position. Just making sure the knees are stacked directly underneath the hips. Wrists are stacked directly underneath the shoulders, and we'll start with our cat-cow. So we'll inhale as we drop the belly down, open the heart space, lift the chest, lift the tailbone, and then exhale, we'll round, moving all the way from the tailbone up towards the neck. Bring that navel towards the spine. Cat pose. Inhale for cow. Drop the belly, lift the tailbone, lift the head. Exhale as you round through the spine for your cat. And we'll do that a few more times together, maybe going a little bit quicker. Inhale. And then exhale to round. Inhale. Awakening that spine. Exhale. Just going for one more. Inhale, drop the belly. Exhale. And then this time, drop the belly down, come into your cow pose, and then we're going to push our hips back, press into our palms, bring the forehead down to the mat, and come into child's pose just for a moment. Breathe in. And then once more, open the mouth, just sigh the breath out. Gaze forward, we're going to gently pull ourselves up into our cow pose. And then rounding through the spine, push the hips back into your child's pose. Again, coming forward, snaking forward, bend the elbows, lift the head. And then exhale as you round. Send the hips back, child's pose once more. Really awakening the spine. Moving like a snake, lift the head. Exhale, round. Child's pose. And then we'll lift back up into our tabletop. We're going into a little balance here. Why not? Balance the mind, balance the body. Send the right foot back. And then take the left hand forward. Engage the core here. Bring the toes down towards the mat and shoot the heel back. We want both limbs in one line. Hold it for 3, 2, and 1. We're going to bring elbow and knee into the center line of the body. And then once more, extend forward. Engage that core for 3, 2, and 1. Switch sides. Send the left foot back. Reach the right hand forward. Finding that balance, engaging that core. Pushing back through the heel. Our glute is switched on. We're finding that balance for 3, 2, and 1. Elbow and knee comes to the center line of the body. And then once more, reaching forward, finding that balance, that stability, balancing the body, the mind. 3, 2, and 1. Exhale. Tuck the toes under. We're going to send our hips up and back. We'll meet in our downward facing dog. So just adjusting yourself to the position that works for you. So maybe the knees are bent, maybe you're on your tiptoes, just making sure that the fingertips are spread nice and wide. And you can even bend the knees, pedal out the feet. We're not going to be here for very long. And then everyone just bend the knees and then really shoot the sit bones up towards the ceiling. And then working towards lengthening. And we're slowly going to walk towards the top of our mat. A very slippy mat, actually. This is not my usual yoga mat. This is my Bali yoga mat, and it's not got the best grip. So we're just going to hang out here in our forward fold and begin to rock from left to right. So the feet will be about hip width distance apart. And this might be your first forward fold of the day, so feel free to bend the knees generously. Option to grab opposite elbows and just rock from left to right in a ragdoll pose. Inhale. Open the mouth, exhale, let it go. Give the head a shake. Yes and no. Just releasing any tension that you might be carrying in the neck. And then we're going to generously bend the knees and round the spine. Head comes up last. Take your time here. Roll all the way up to standing. And then when you get there, we're just going to... Oh, my head's chopped off. Great. We're just going to roll out our shoulders. That's okay. You can still see me. You can hear me. Roll the shoulders back and forth. Now staying at the top of the mat, feet are hip width distance apart. We're going to open up the arms. I'll face you. Lift those arms, reach all the way up. And then keeping the spine long, come into a forward fold. Plant the hands down, inhale, halfway lift, bring the hands perhaps to the shins. Lengthen the spine. Imagine that you've got a piece of string coming right from the top of your head, pulling you forward, and then sending the weight towards the back of the heels. So you've got this kind of pulling motion from both sides. Exhale, forward fold. Plant the hands down, step it back. Come into your plank position. We're going for a vinyasa. So you can either drop the knees down or going through chaturanga, shoot the chest forward, we'll lower down onto the belly. Inhale, upward facing dog. And then exhale, rolling over the toes, downward facing dog. There's always the option to take a child's pose. We're going to stay here for 3 breaths. So inhale, take any movement that you need. Exhale. 2 more, breathe in. And breathe out. And then just going for 1 more, inhale. Exhale, look between the hands, step to the top of the mat. You're going to inhale, take a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up, bending the knees generously if you need to. Bring the hands together to the heart center. And then let it go, coming into your mountain pose. So just check in with yourself here, check your alignment. Feet are hip width distance apart, lift the kneecaps. Tuck the tailbone under, suck the belly in, palms facing forward. Just lift the shoulders up towards the ears. Draw the shoulder blades in, and then place them back down. Mountain pose. Maybe even just closing your eyes for a moment here, observing your breath. And then just gently opening the eyes. I'm feeling like we should do a bit more balancing, so just shifting your weight into that left foot. Bringing that right foot, we're going to go for our tree pose. So you might be new to yoga, so maybe you want to start here. Just bringing that heel next to the ankle, toes stay firmly on the ground. If you want to work on the balance a little bit more, just bringing that foot next to the calf. Or if you've been practicing for a while, maybe you want to go straight into that tree pose. So just bringing that right foot to the inner left thigh, bringing the hands together to the heart center, holding it here, and just finding a point on the floor in front of you to focus on. About 4 feet in front of you. And we're working on, once again, balancing the body, balancing the mind. And maybe you feel a bit wobbly, maybe you fall out, don't worry. You can just go straight back into it. We'll start to lift our hands up in prayer above our head. So finding that determination, practicing that balance, imagining that you have got roots shooting down from that left foot deep down into the earth. And just remember not to abandon the breath. Oops, I'm getting attacked by a fly. So really observing that breath. Sometimes we tend to hold our breath when we're in a balance, maybe to help us concentrate, but really what's going to help us is breathing in and out through the nose deeply. Just hold it for another 3, 2, 1. Bring the hands down through the heart center. And then slowly release that leg. We're going to point the toes forward. Keep that balance for 3, 2, lift, 1, and then exhale, release. Shake it out, shake the ankles, maybe the wrists, and we'll go for our tree pose on the right side, so shifting your weight into the right foot. Bring in that left foot, and again, finding what works for you. Maybe you're here, toes firmly pressed down, heel next to the ankle, moving up to the calf, or maybe going for that full tree pose. Just making sure that the hips are squared. Bring the hands together to the heart center. Find your breath. Find your drishti, so your gaze, that focal point in front of you that's still. You're going to stare at that point. That is going to help us focus and balance. And then slowly starting to move those hands up above the head. And just maybe even visualizing once again that those roots coming down from the right foot, lengthening the spine, reaching up. And if this is coming easy to you and you want a little challenge, you can always close your eyes. Hold it for 3, 2, and then 1. Bring the hands down, back to the heart center. We're going to release that foot, point the toes forward, hold it here for 3, 2, lift, and 1. Release, roll out the ankles. Take a nice big wide stance. Point the toes out. And we're going to inhale, lift those arms. Exhale, sinking down into our goddess pose. So lengthening through the spine, lifting that chest, and maybe even just taking a little rock from left to right if that feels good for you. We're going to inhale, lift. Exhale, once again sinking down into that goddess pose, bringing the hands just above the knees and dipping the shoulders left and right. This feels really good, opening up the hips in the morning. Go for 2 more. And then back to center, bring the hands together. Inhale, we'll lift. And then once more, coming all the way down, lift the hands, bring the palms together through the heart center. We're going to stay here for 5 breaths. Or, if you'd like to, you can just begin to bounce. Gently working into the hips, creating some heat in the body. I don't really need any heat right now, it's bloody warm. We'll go for 5, for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lengthen. Bring the hands to the hips and just bring the toes in ever so slightly. Blah, blah, blah. Lift the chest, open the heart space, breathe in. And then on the exhale, we're going to hinge forward. So hinging from the hips, keeping that spine long. And what I mean by that is, instead of dropping the head down like this, we want to keep the spine long, keep the neck lengthened, and just gaze down, straight forward. If you can, bringing the hands down to the mat. If that's a struggle for you, maybe you've got a block or a book, or maybe just even keeping the hands on the hips. And you can bend the knees. Just going to hold it here, a wide-legged forward fold. Inhale, lift the chest, open that heart space, and then exhale, forward fold. Maybe you go a little bit deeper, perhaps walking the hands in line with the feet. With every inhale, we'll lengthen. With every exhale, come into that forward fold, maybe a little bit deeper. And just remember to keep your gaze down, straight forward onto the mat. Inhale, walk the hands over to the left. And then back to center. Exhale. And then inhale over to the right side. Exhale, bring it back to center. Take one more breath in. Lift. And then one more. Exhale, release. Come into that forward fold. Feel that nice deep hamstring stretch first thing in the morning, or the evening, or the afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. And then bringing the hands back towards the hips, we'll gently rise. Take your time. And we're just going to heel toe the feet about hip width distance apart, maybe even a little bit wider. Point the toes out, lift those arms up above the head. And then exhale, sinking down into your yogi squat. Malasana. Bring the hands together to the heart center. And maybe your heels don't quite touch the floor. That's totally fine if you're like this. Maybe you're even like this. We're just working towards opening the hips. So wherever you're at, finding what works for you. We're going to stay here for 3 breaths. So inhale. Exhale. Again, inhale. Slow breath out. Sending that breath to the areas that need it the most. Breathe in. And then breathe out. Bring the sit bones down towards the mat. Bring the soles of the feet together. And then just bring the hands around the toes. We're drawing the heels in as close as we can to our groin. And just start to move the knees up and down, up and down. So coming into our Baddha Konasana, that is Sanskrit for butterfly pose. So just loosening up the hips a little bit. We're going to inhale, lift the chest. And now finding some stillness as you exhale, starting to forward fold. And again, hinging from the hips. So keeping the length in the spine, the chest shooting forward, and we're kind of leading with the chin. We're aiming to bring our chin down towards the mat. And again, it doesn't really matter how far you get. You just want to feel that sensation, that opening. No pain, but just a nice deep stretch for the groin. With every inhale, we'll lengthen the spine, breathe in. And with every exhale, forward folding, maybe slightly deeper. Inhale, exhale. 2 more breaths. Inhale, exhale. Let that breath be your guide. 1 more deep inhalation. Slow exhalation. Nice. Inhale, breathe in all the way up. Come all the way up. And then just bring the knees in. Give yourself a nice squeeze, a hug, some love. Bring the forehead towards the knees. Coming back to that gratitude, just take a moment to have some gratitude for yourself. And then lift the head. We'll take the hands at either side of the hips, shoot the heels forward, and just rock the knees from left to right. Windshield wipe, washing away the rain, the cobwebs, anything that you don't need to hold on to. Let's just wash it away right now. And then we're going to shoot our feet forward, flex the toes towards the face. Bring the hands to either side of the hips, lengthen the spine, lift the chest, gazing forward, Dandasana. We're going to inhale, lift those arms up next to the ears. And then exhale, forward fold. Coming into our Paschimottanasana. So option here, you can bring the hands towards the shins, maybe the ankles, maybe wrapping the two peace fingers around the big toes. We'll lift and lengthen, gaze forward, and then exhale, forward fold, hinging from the hips. So we're moving from this point. Lead with the chest. Inhale. Again, exhale. Gazing forward towards the big toes. Inhale. One more breath out. Exhale. Nice stretch for the hamstrings. My hamstrings feel really tight today. Breathe in all the way up. Plant the hands down. Take the feet as wide as the mat. And once more, just rock those knees from left to right. And then we're just going to gently roll all the way down onto our backs. Draw the knees into the chest, Apanasana. And if it feels good, you can rock from left to right. Maybe you want to make some little circles with the knees, giving that lower back a nice massage. That's a wasp. And then we'll come into our happy baby pose. So taking either the outer edges of the feet, maybe the ankles, or maybe the back of the knees, finding what works for you. Maybe your hips feel quite tight this morning, and that's totally fine. You can just find that position that works best. And we'll rock from left to right, left to right. Coming towards the close of our little morning flow. Just bring the soles of the feet down to the mat. Press the lower back down into the mat. And then we'll bring the soles of the feet together and just allow those knees to rock out to either side. Reclined butterfly pose, so similar to what we were doing before. And then just once more, just take that left hand to the belly and the right hand to the heart, closing down your eyes if that feels good. Coming back to that space, that feeling of gratitude. Maybe you feel slightly different now than you felt at the beginning of the practice. Or maybe you don't, and that's okay. Becoming in tune once again with your breath. Feel the belly rise as you inhale. And then feel the belly fall as you exhale. Feeling the heart beating in the chest. As you breathe in, feeling that sensation of gratitude fill up the body. And as you breathe out, letting go of anything that doesn't serve you. As you move forward into maybe your day, your night. Release the hands to either side of the hips, and then just slowly taking one leg out as wide as the mat, and then the other leg coming into your Shavasana, that final resting pose. Palms facing upward, closing down the eyes if you haven't already. And we're just going to take some time to find some stillness. Let the body regenerate, recalibrate. Just allowing the whole body to relax and sinking deeply into the mat. Allow the breath to flow back to its normal rhythm. And be still. And I welcome you to take as much time as you need in Shavasana. Otherwise, we're just going to gently bring some movement back to our body. Tap each fingertip to the thumb. Wiggle the toes. Start to roll out the wrists and the ankles. And if you are coming with me out of your Shavasana, just begin to, if it feels good, take a full body stretch. Like that first stretch in the morning when you wake up in bed. Bring the knees into the chest and just rolling over onto one side, coming into a fetal position. Again, just taking a moment here. Keeping your eyes closed and gently taking your time to guide yourself all the way up to that comfortable seat where we began. And whatever that looks like for you. Bringing the hands together to the heart space, to the heart center. Gently bow the head. And just taking a moment here to thank yourself for giving yourself, giving your body, your mind this time today to practice. And thank you so much for joining me and for sharing your practice with me. Bring the hands to the forehead. Together we'll breathe in and then breathe out. Namaste.